Hi, I'm David from Division Webdev, and in this video, you will learn how to use the calculated field in JetFormBuilder. The calculated field currently allows you to do one of two things, which are perform calculations on numbers and perform concatenations on strings. So now let's go ahead and see some examples. The first example we'll be looking at is for a company that sells packs of tiles. So based on the area and the cutting loss that is imputed by the user, it will estimate how many packs of tiles and how much the total price will be. And then when we press purchase, it will take us to PayPal so that we can pay for that product. So let's say, for example, we have 20 meters square with a cutting loss of 5%. We get the total price of 600. And then when I press purchase, it takes me to PayPal where the price is £600 and everything is sorted out. All I have to do is go ahead and pay for the product. Let me go back and then refresh the page. The second thing is that we also added a conditional logic that by default, if the user does not impute any value, then we should just default to one pack and the total price of £25. The second example is with contact form, and we're going to show how we can get the full name based on the first name and the last name. So let's say I put the first name as Jonathan. It immediately imputes that the full name is Jonathan David, and those are the two examples we'll be looking at. So now let's jump right into the backend. First, ensure that you have the latest version of JetFormBuilder installed. To install JetFormBuilder, head over to your plugins area. So plugins, add new plugin, then search for JetFormBuilder. Then go ahead and install it and make sure it is activated. Once it is activated, you get to see a new option coming up on your side panel of your WP dashboard called JetFormBuilder. There you can now go ahead and create a new form. Or if you have the Pro version, you can go ahead and add in some add-ons. So when you go under add-ons, you may want to use the Stripe payment add-on. Or if you have some recurring payments, you may want to use the PayPal recurring payments add-on. And so many other add-ons that are here. So just make sure you've purchased the add-on first, then install the add-on, and then you can add in your license. Once you've done that, you can add in any other add-on that you want from the library. But for today's video, we'll be focusing on the calculated fields and the PayPal add-on. So let's go over and create a new form. So I'll go under Forms. Then I'll create a new form. The first thing we need to do is add a title for our form. So for this example, I'll call it Purchase Form. So Purchase Form. Then we can either choose to start from a pattern or start from scratch. For this example, we'll start from scratch. So click on Start from Scratch. It will come out with some default fields. So let's go ahead and delete all of those fields. So go to the list view, press Ctrl A or Command A if you're on Mac, and then I'll just go ahead and delete it. So now we're starting from scratch. Then the fields that we need are the text field for the area. We need a select field for the cutting loss. We need some hidden fields for all of our constants. And then we need some calculated field for all of the calculated values. So now let's go ahead and start adding those fields. Come back. In Gutenberg, if you want to add a field, you can do it in several ways. You can either add it from the plus icon, or you can use the slash notation. So if I say slash text field, you get that field. I can just press enter. Then I'll give it a name. So the first one is going to be area. So area. It will automatically fill in the form field name for us. If it doesn't, then make sure you change the name to what you want your form field name to be. This is what we'll be using in our calculated logic. So that's first field. Then we'll go ahead and add in a new field, which is the select field. I'll give it a name, which is cutting loss. So under field label, I'll say cutting loss. And we get the form field name. Then we need to add in the actual options. To do that, first choose where the option will come from. You can either use manual input, or you can go to glossary or generate it dynamically, or so many other ways. But for this example, we're just going to be adding them manually. So I'll click on the manual input, and then I'll click on the wrench icon to manage items. Over here, there are two ways we can add in our options. We can either add them using the UI. So you put label, the value, and the calculated value. Or you can use the bulk option, which is writing everything in plain text. That's what we'll be using in this example. So I'll click bulk options. It all depends on how you want to write it. It is in this notation. So the label, put a colon, then the value, put a colon, then the calculated value. So let's go ahead and just delete all of these and then add everything. So first we want 5%. So the option that will be showing up is 5%. I'll put a colon, but I only want the value to be 5. We don't really need the percentage. So I'll put 5, colon, 5. Do the same thing for the next one, 10%, colon, 10, colon, 10. 15%, colon, 15, colon, 15. Then we have two options. We can either add to the already existing options that are in the input field from the UI, or want to replace everything with our bulk options. In this case, it doesn't matter because we don't actually have any field already created. So I'll just click on replace. Yes. So now we have our 3 fields created. They have, if you go ahead and check them, the label, value, and then the calculated value. So I'll press update. We have our 2 visible fields. Now let's go ahead and start adding the hidden fields. Click on the plus icon again. This time I'll choose some hidden fields. It should render in HTML, yes. This field will be, let's go back to the calculation. It is going to be the tile area for a single tile. So I'll call it tile area, and I'll just give it a value of 0.09. For the field label, we'll call it tile area. So tile area. Then I'll give it the name as well, tile_area. Then for the value, so go down to the bottom, you see field value. It will be on current post ID by default. You go ahead and change it and set it to manual input. Then the value is going to be 0.09. Next, we want the amount of tiles per pack, which is 10. So I'll go ahead and create another hidden field. Let me open the list view so you can see how it is currently. So for this one, I'll do the same thing. Change the label to tiles per pack. Tiles per pack. And then I'll give it the field value to be manual input, and the value should be 10. So we're getting there. The next thing we need to do now is add the price. So let me just go ahead and duplicate this. And the label will be price. Field name will be price. Then the value will be £25. So for each tile is £25. So now that we have that, oh no, this is not the actual price, but this is unit price. Okay, so we've gotten that. We have all of our hidden fields and we have all of our visible fields. Now the only thing left is the calculated fields. So for the calculations, the first thing we need to calculate is the estimated area. And we do that by saying the input area multiplied by, in bracket, 1 plus the cutting loss divided by 100. So now let's go ahead and do that. So I'll come back to the form. I'll add in a calculated field by clicking on the plus icon. Now search for calculated field. I'll give it a label. The label will be estimated area. It should automatically populate the form field name. The next thing we need to check is the value type. Make sure it's set to as number. There are two options, as number or as string. As number is for calculations, as string is for concatenations. So we set it to as number. Then the decimal places we need, I'll leave it as 2, but you can set it to whatever value you want. Next is the decimal separator. In the UK, we use the dot symbol for the decimal separator, but in the EU, some people use the comma. So it all depends on what you need. You also have the option for the thousand separator. In the UK, we use the comma. Then you can add in the prefix and the suffix. For this example, we're going to be adding a suffix of meter squared. So first we'll add in a space using ampersand MBSP, the semicolon. So let me do that. MBSP semicolon. Then I'll add in meter squared. So let me just copy this and paste it there. The rest, we don't need them. Okay, we want it to be visible. We don't want it to be hidden in this case because it's going to be shown in the front end. So next now we add the actual calculation. So we'll come to the editor area, into the text area field, and that's where we add in all our calculations. When we want to use a form field value, use the percentage sign, then the form field name, then we close it by the percentage sign. You can easily get your form field name using the wrench icon, and then it shows you a default set of form field names that are already on the page. So for this case, we want the area, then that'll be multiplied by, use the asterisk symbol, put in bracket 1 plus, then what we need is the cutting loss divided by 100. So open the bracket again. Click on the wrench icon. We want the cutting loss. That will be divided by 100. Close all the brackets. I'll save this. And that is our first calculation done. Now let's go ahead and see what the second calculation is. The second calculation says we need to now check for the number of packs needed. And that is taking the estimated area divided by the area for each tile multiplied by the number of tiles in a pack, which we said is going to be 10. So let me go back to the form, add in a new calculated field, or I'll just duplicate the one we already have. So I'll click on the list view, the 3 dots, and just click duplicate. Next, I will go ahead and change all of the labels and all of the fields. So the label should be packs needed. Go ahead and delete this and just tap to it again. It will auto-populate. I'll leave every other thing the way they are. Then we don't need the suffix, so I'll delete all of that. Next, we'll add the actual calculation in the editor area. So I'll clear what is there currently. So what we need is the total area, which is the estimated area we did in the previous calculation. Estimated area divided by, open the bracket, we want the area covered per tile. So click on the wrench icon. The area is tile area. And then we multiply it by, click on the wrench icon again, the tiles per pack. And I'll close it. Save that. So this should give us the total number of packs needed. Finally, let's go back. We want to also calculate the total price. And that's simply the number of packs multiplied by the unit price. Come back. duplicate the field again, change all of the labels. So this time is the price. Delete this and then to auto-populate. Leave it as number 2. All of these. We can add a prefix to the price. So I'll put the pound symbol and then the space, NBSP, semicolon. So we have these. So now let's go ahead and add in the calculation. The calculation is, like I said, is just the total number of packs multiplied by the unit price. So click on the wrench icon, the number of packs needed, multiplied by wrench icon, the unit price. And I'll save that. So we have our default value already set up. But if you go back, it says that we are supposed to do something else, which is that we are supposed to use the ceiling. So we are supposed to try to round it up. So you want to round the number up. I'll leave a link to the documentation in the description. We can use the advanced math calculations, and there we can use something like rounding. So we want to round it up, because when you're buying packs, you cannot buy 2.5 packs. You can only buy in whole numbers. You can buy 3 packs, 4 packs, but you cannot buy 4.25 packs of rice. That doesn't work. You have to buy it in a full pack. So that's why we're going to round up the number. So we use this rounding up. And all you have to write is math.ceil and then your field. So let's do that. So we'll come back to our form, and that is for the number of packs needed. So rather than just having this full value, come back to the beginning and say math.ceil, open the bracket and close everything up. So that is all. So save it. So now we can go ahead and test the form on the front end. So come to a page, click on Bricks Playground, go to the pages, create a new page, and then just say maybe test. I'll add in the form, so /jet, then choose JetForm. We'll go ahead and select the exact form, which is the purchase form. And when I publish it, then I'll view the page. As you can see, we have everything. So when we put the area as maybe 20, we need 24 packs and we need £600 for it. We can also add a conditional logic to say that if there is no value added, because right now if there's no value added, it will just say 000. What if we say it should give us a minimum pack of 1 whenever there is no input value for the area? I'll leave a link in the description to this document, which shows how to use conditional formulas in the calculated field. So let's go ahead and use that. All you have to do is, if you come down to the bottom, you write your condition, put a question mark, write the expression when it is true, a colon, and the expression when it is false. So that's very easy to do. So come back to the form. And for the packs needed, before the math ceil, all I'll say is we're now adding the condition. So we'll say if the area, cut this, then go to the beginning, paste it. So we have if the area is greater than 0, then it should use this value. Otherwise, put the column at the end, say the value for the pack should be 1. So you should always have at least 1 pack. So let me go ahead and save it. Then we'll come back to the test, refresh. And you can see now the packs needed is always going to be 1. So whenever we put a value, it will change to the actual value. But if we don't put a value, then it will default back to 1. Yeah, that's it. You can take it a step further so that when a user successfully fills in the form, they are redirected to the payment gateway, so PayPal, Stripe, but that will be done in a separate video. So the next thing we're going to look at now is how to do concatenation of strings. And that is pretty simple. So let's go ahead and look at it right now. So come back to the form. I'll use the same form. Then I'll add in 2 fields, maybe 2 text fields. You can concatenate different kinds of fields, numbers, text, select fields, or in this case, I'm just going to concatenate 2 text fields. Then I'll add in a calculated field. For the first field, I'll give it the first name. So first name. Then for the second field, I'll call it last name. And finally, for the calculated field, I'll call it full name. So for this full name, we'll change the value type from as number to as string. We want it to be visible because we want to show the full name. But if you want it to be hidden, you can also hide it. So it will only be used within your form submission. But let's just leave it as unhidden. One area where this is useful is in your summary, where you want your user to be able to see all of the fields that they've added in the form, mostly in like a multi-step form. So they filled forms in like 3 different steps. At the end of the form, you give them a summary page where they can see everything they filled out. So their first name, last name, and every information they filled out will be displayed in a summary page. So this is where the calculated field is very useful. Now let's go ahead and see how we can now concatenate the both of them. So I'll come to the editor area. And how we start it is by putting the single quotation mark. Then we add the field macros that we need. So click on the wrench icon. I want the first name, space. I'll click on the wrench icon again. I want the last name. And then I'll close the quotation marks. These are single quotation marks. Let me save it. Then I'll come back to the front end. I'll refresh the page. And this time, as you can see, if I say the first name is David, the last name is Denedo, everything gets filled automatically. And yeah, that's it. This is how you can use your calculated fields in JetFormBuilder. So we'll see you in the next one. Bye.